And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age, and the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. Drop down to chapter 22 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham. Now I want us to get it plain here. In the Hebrew, this word tempt is from a Hebrew word that's N-A-W-S-A-W, nasau. And the word tempt simply means to prove or to test. He was going to prove Abraham, to prove what he told him of the covenant that he made with him. He told him, he said, as of my part, this is how it's going to be. Now he's approving Abraham's part. Amen? And it came to pass after these things that God did prove Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. Now, if you want to look in most of your books, and I mean, most of it just tells you that it can't be 100% accurate. But whenever that he was born here, it was in 1897 BC, according to the calendar, when he was born. And then whenever that he told him to offer him up, it was in 1872 BC. So that would have left Isaac, if that being correct, 25-year-old. So he wasn't no little bitty boy. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac. Now listen to that. Thine only son Isaac. Take thy son, thy only son Isaac. We've already established there that he's got another son because he said he did, didn't he? Thy son Ishmael. But God calls him his only son. Now let's establish this too. He was born way beyond the natural means of childbirth. Way beyond the natural means of childbirth. Do you know anybody else that was born that way? Jesus Christ, a virgin, beyond the natural means of childbirth. She had a son that God gave us. You see it? Can you see it a little? And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went into the place where God told him. God said, Your only son that you love. Abraham never argued with him, did he? And Abraham rose up early and he done it. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto the young men, now watch this, Abide ye here with the ass or the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. Now he told everybody, the young men is with him, he said, You just wait here on me and the boy. The donkey didn't even go. Stay with the donkey here. Said, We're going yonder and worship. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. Now Isaac wasn't a little bitty boy. This proves it here too, because he was able to take enough wood and carry it up that mountain to be crucified on, wasn't he? Amen? Does that resemble anybody else that you know that went up a mountain and carried enough wood to be crucified on? And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. You ever had a son, you know how that hard this would be. Awful, wasn't it? And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father? And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering, so they went both of them together. Now, can you imagine having that conversation with your son? And your little boy or your son are looking at you and saying, Dad, I know I'm carrying the wood here and you've got the knife and the fire, but where's the lamb at? And Abraham knowing he was going to kill him. Lord, ain't that something? And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, I read that already. Let's go to verse 8. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together, and they came to the place where God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. You think that boy couldn't have resisted him? Huh? If he was 25-year-old, we know he was old enough to carry enough wood up there to be burned on. So he was big enough to resist his father. Does that remind you of anybody else that willingly done it, that was a son? Huh?